book. And that is not going to be boring.
A huge misconception about heaven is the idea that there won't be anything to do. Whereas we're told very clearly in Revelation 21 and 22, his servants will serve him. And to serve means to have something to do. It means that there's a structure in which somebody gives us something to do. We go out and do it. The Bible talks about ruling and reigning with Christ. That means that we will be serving under others and serving over others, and we together will work without any of the negative connotations, without the weeds that came in from the curse, without the personal relationships that are always struggling, without the pride, the ego issues, but joyously serving the Lord and having dominion over the new earth as he intended us to have dominion over this old earth. God's plan has never changed. He, from the beginning, designed the earth as a place for us to live as human beings, and he never gave up on that. Christ died not only to redeem us, but to redeem the earth itself, and hence we are new people, but we will be living on a new earth. And so that new earth that we'll live on, we will be able to have dominion over the earth, do the things in terms of culture and art and music and everyday responsibilities that sure will be quite a bit different than they are now, given living in a sinless environment and a non-frustrating environment, but nonetheless, we will have great and meaningful things to do. Heaven will be full of things to do.
Now I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away. Also there was no more sea. Then I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. God himself will be with them and be their God. And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away. Then he who sat on the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said to me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. Revelation chapter 21.
Right before a baby gets born, and when he is in the darkness of his mother's womb, he thinks that's home. These are familiar surroundings. He has no idea that inches away, just on the other side of his mother's womb, there's this world of mountains and trees and flowers and fields and skies and oceans. And suddenly then when he's birthed out into this world, oh my goodness, he never would have dreamed it existed. And yet it was only inches away. You know, whenever I want to think about what my new body's going to be like in heaven, I try and think of what a little acorn rolling around on the ground must think of its destiny as a tall, big, beautiful oak tree. I mean, if you were to tell that little acorn that one day he would be that big tree that he's next to, he would look at you and say, you're nuts, you're crazy. But thinking about our bodies in heaven is very much like that. It's like expecting a flower bulb to appreciate what it means to one day be fragrant and beautiful and let off a sweet aroma. It's like asking a coconut, what do you think it's like to sway in the breeze and the wind and bend gracefully in the air as a palm tree? It's like asking a caterpillar to appreciate flying. I mean, we can't understand it. And yet, in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, it's lessons of nature that God invites us to use when we think about our new bodies in heaven. So one day, this little acorn of me has in it the pattern and promise of something so grand, so great, so glorious, that like a great oak tree, I can't even begin to imagine this little acorn heart of mine, what it will be like.
But someone will say, How are the dead raised up? And with what body do they come? Foolish one, what you sow is not made alive unless it dies. The body is sown in corruption. It is raised in incorruption. It is sown in dishonor. It is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness. It is raised in power. It is sown a natural body. It is raised a spiritual body.
I believe in heaven because Jesus is the one who spoke about heaven. Furthermore, he's the only one who is actually dead, not just near death, but actually dead, and then came back from the dead to tell us what heaven is like. And of course, even before he died, he knew what it was like. I'm thinking of his words to the thief on the cross. Today you shall be with me in paradise. Notice how personal that is. Jesus expected to connect with the thief in paradise.
Then he said to Jesus, Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus said to him, Assuredly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise. Luke chapter 23.
I believe that Jesus not only taught us how to live, but he also taught us how to die. We think, for example, of the cross. He died at the right time. Do you know that when Jesus was crucified, it was exactly the time when the Passover lambs were being slain? That means that he, as the Lamb of God, was dying at the right time. God's providence so brought about circumstances that he was dying at exactly the time scheduled by the Father. And I'd like to think that that is true also of us as believers who walk in obedience, that we die in the Lord's time. Oh, I know it's true that there's a human side, that we can postpone death by taking good care of our bodies and so forth. But at the end of the day, we are not in the hands of cancer and accidents and all kinds of different diseases. We are, after all, in the hands of God. Jesus died at the right time. He also died with the right attitude. I mean, there he is. He's anticipating the cross, and he is in great agony. It is all right to be in agony before you die. Now, Jesus was anticipating being made sin for us, so his situation is a little different. But it's perfectly fine for a person to die, to have apprehension. All of us would. Because no matter how much we study heaven, there is apprehension when we think about walking behind that iron gate. Yet at the same time, Jesus Christ died with the right purpose. He had one purpose, and that is to glorify the Father. And why is it that we die? Why is it that some people have cancer? Some people die of one thing or another. At the end of the day, as believers, we want to die in such a way that God is glorified. We want to die differently. It was said of the early church that the way in which you could distinguish Christians from the pagans was that the Christians carried their dead as if in triumph. And so we, believing in the resurrection, believing in eternity and heaven, we also carry our dead in triumph as well.
I can't believe